Blog Talk Radio.
Now let's set the record straight. There's no argument over the choice between peace and war, but there's only one guaranteed way you can have peace, and you can have it in the next second. Surrender. Admitted.
A lot of the wars, a lot of the stuff happening in the Middle East is because of the Israeli lobby, one of the most powerful in the United States. And they brag about this. It's called a conspiracy theory here in the U.S., but they've bought off a lot of the preachers to go spout this stuff. That's public. They have bragged, Ariel Sharon bragged that he owned our Congress. They have bragged, and then Haaretz and Jerusalem Post will jump up and down and say that the U.S. has got to do more to attack Iran and go into these other countries. But that's only one level of it. Folks always think that, they blew up the World Trade Centers to get the $7 billion in insurance money, or they did it to get the oil, or they did it to be able to invade the Middle East, or they did it for weapon sales, or they did it for opium, or they did it for Israel. It's all those reasons. The New World Order doesn't do something unless, in the cost-benefit analysis, it helps all of their major operations. And Israel's very corrupt, does a lot of horrible things. They're very oppressive to their own people. But I do think it's always important to point out that in major polls, over half of the people that live in Israel are against what their government's doing and are upset about it. But then they're beaten back into submission by terror attacks that are stimulated by policies that are oppressive, but also a lot of that is staged. That is, the terror groups are funded. The guy on the ground launching a rocket or blowing himself up doesn't even know it, but it has even come out in Israeli papers that the Israeli state, Shin Bet, mainly their internal security apparatchik, has been, quote, creating fake al-Qaeda groups, quote, right-wing settlers have been caught planting bombs, detonating them, and it's the same thing. But
all right, everybody. Joseph Gibson podcasting here. A little late tonight, a little late podcast, but we had to get one in there. Understanding the times in which we live today, I throw that one out there. I've been playing that a couple times now because I get a lot of flack. If you listen to the show I did late night with the doctor there, the good doctor there, the Christian, the pastor of the church, which he is a friend of mine. But we went at it, verse for verse, biblically and historically and doctrinally and inspirationally. Where everyone says he was stating, you can't blame the Jews for what's going on because everyone knows that I've been going over to the NSM platform there and been spending a lot of time over there, and I also guest host a podcast over there on that platform. So I've been taking a little bit of flack there from a lot of my theology, I guess you could say, brothers in Christ, I guess you could say. And they're quick to blame the Jesuits. Well, now the Jesuits do have a hand in this game, but there's many different hands in it. But if you look at the facts and the numbers, that the majority of the people that are controlling the strings and pulling the strings, the puppet masters, as you like to say, the master of puppets, like that Metallica song, "Master of Puppets," are Jews. It's just you can't deny it. What is their agenda? Why a tiny group of people? Okay, they're good with money. They're good in business. All right, fine. Okay, well, I'll give you that. Okay, that's fine. But that does not still mean why they control so much and have so much influence over our political spectrum and our ideologies and our foundations today. They're pulling it right out from underneath us, the foundations to which we stand. And we got people, for God's sake, running around saying George Washington was a Freemason or he was a member of a Masonic Lodge when he was not. And I have a copy of a letter handwritten from George Washington, which he clearly states he was never a member of their lodges, that Masonic lodges ever, and nor does he ever plan on participating in their groups. Okay? And you can get that from the Library of Congress. It's actually handwritten, signed by George Washington. Those letters still exist. A lot of these letters exist today where you can go get the truth. But you see, but the propaganda though is to do what? Make George Washington into this funny character. He has wooden teeth, right? Ha 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 ha. You know, we discredited him. You know, they do it to me on the internet. Look what they do. They hack into my phone. They try to discredit me. You know, put pictures of me, and that's what they do. So this is how they feed. You know, it's bred into us to mock everybody and make you look weak. You know, and meanwhile the ones behind the scenes, these Jewish elite money changers that have been around for ever, since the Garden of Eden, I guess, just are the puppet masters that are destroying the people. Now, I kind of agree with a lot of the black people that call into my show. They say, you know, the Jews are doing it too, and they try to say they're trying to pit us against it. Well, I have a problem with the black community also, because you know they don't like. I mean, if you go to the Black Panthers and Black Clean Panthers or whatever you want to call them, their agenda is to destroy the United States and destroy the white people. Okay, and I can't stand for that. I'm not going to go for that and say, yeah, I'll go along and get along just for the heck of it. No, I'm going to stand up for my people. And the Bible does depict race, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. If you read the Bible, and I went over this the other night with the Dr. Peter Ventura on the show, and it was and he got a little touchy there, a little moody. If you go back and listen, he's when I started slamming him with the facts, got a little upset with me. You know, he started cutting me off. Every time I'd speak, he'd talk over me. You know, it's just like, whoa. You know, there's only two of us here on the line, so it's not like there's eight of us and we're talking over each other. So, but I would say in the discussion, if you were to rate it on who would won the discussion, I'll be fair. I'll say 60 me, 40% him, as far as the, going back and forth. Because he's very well versed and he's knowledgeable, and I like what someone said. I forget where I heard it, but the Christians out there are licking the boots of these people, and they're coming for us. They're coming for us. What are you going to do? Lick the boots all right up till you get your head in the guillotine? Slam, shing, I love you, God's chosen people. Slam, your head gets chopped off. Are you taking the microchip there? You're marked. So you got to be careful. And all this, we're just going to get along. We're all going to get along. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Never is it going to happen. We're just different. We talk different. We look different. We act different. We work differently. We go about life differently. And that's just the way we are. And I'm proud of my people. And I want, of course, to do what's best for my people. Does that mean I want to hurt anyone else? No. I don't want to hurt any other races of people or any cultures of people. They have every right to live also and exist and do what they want to do. But when they're shoving it down my throat and taking away my homeland, and they're saying it's theirs, then we have a problem. And this is what the age-old problem goes into. It goes into what? Conflict, which leads to war, which leads to violence, which leads to death. And I, of course, want to avoid all that. That's why I do podcast shows like this, so we can bring the facts and the truth out there. And for those of you who don't like what I say or what I do or who I'm with, then you can go someplace else for all I care. Because I think that's pretty lame of you and weak-minded of you, and you're filled with sorrow, and you don't have an identity for yourself if you are going to put a friendship in jeopardy because of my personal beliefs that really are not hurting anyone. They're actually helping people realize and understand the times in which we live today, and that's the title of this show. So I don't think I could have done it any better than that intro. So anyway. Phone number is 657-383-0616. I do have a couple dozen people here on the queue here. I'm not going to take calls that I'm not really too familiar with because it's a late-night show, and I'm really not into the crank calling tonight. But I do have some things here, like talking points that would like to read from. And we know this debate of the Republic real quick, and I'd like to get into that, and then I'll open up the phone lines for you guys if you guys want to have a discussion about it. We have to have a resolution here, obviously. We have to have some sort of solution to the problem of what's happening here in America. America, obviously, is spiraling downhill. I have never seen the country so messed up than any other time in history than it is now for the past couple of years. We can all agree on that, right? Can we? I mean, come on. I know some people may, call in and say, oh, the 1960s, it was messed up back then. Okay, well, all right. Well, I'll give you that. But today, back then you had, good people. I mean, you can go to grandma's house for milk and cookies. Today, you go to grandma's house, you get molested. We live in a sick world today, a very sick, dark world. And we got to fix this. How are we going to do it? First you have to understand really history. You have to understand where we came from, and what you have to understand international law. You got to understand what's going on, and you have to understand the government. You have to understand our republic, and you have to understand what else is out there that we can choose from. Now, I was talking about the National Socialist Movement there, the NSM there, where I go over. They're having a rally April 16th. Check out their website. I'll give that out here later on in the podcast, and go there and hey, look. You want a group that wants to fight for whites, fight for white people. If you're not getting a voice, then you got a voice with them. Trust me. Go over to they do a podcast show like this. You can call in, open phones night. Okay, you can call into the other shows. Sunday night they do a show. Monday night they do a show. I do a show Thursday night, and you got open phones with Bert, the commander there. I think it's Wednesday night. Yeah, Wednesday night, and 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Call in there 516-453-6058. Just call in there and you'll get a voice, or go to their website and send them a letter, send them your comments, or join up or support them. Because I'm going to tell you right now, there is no other groups out there that are specifically fighting for the rights of white people. And if this group can grow and get funded properly, they can do many other great things that others cannot do for the whites and the white people out there. Because today, white people are becoming more and more victims of crimes, more and more harassed. You're being fired from your job because you're not politically correct. Your free speech is being shut down. Your Republican Party is dead. So it's just over with. It's been splintered up. You're done. You're finished. I'm almost afraid to see what the midterm elections are going to look like. So just don't put your stock in that. There's going to be no great comeback for the Republican Party. I just don't see it from what's going on out there. Based upon the advertisement and how I get pounded and hounded to donate, and the emails that I get, and they're using other people's names that they're not supposed to be, it's just I feel like they're gone. I just don't see it happen. I think the Constitution Party is a good one here in North Carolina. Constitution Party, go with them. I'm not too sure about the Libertarians out there now. I just don't know where you would. It's up to you though. If you ask me for my opinion, I'll be more than happy to give it if anybody calls in. But international law and agreements, the effect upon U.S. law. International law is derived from two primary sources: international agreements and customary practice. Under the U.S. legal system, international agreements can be entered into by means of a treaty or an executive agreement. The Constitution allocates primary responsibility for entering into such agreements to the executive branch, but Congress also plays an essential role. First, in order for a treaty, but not in an executive agreement. Okay, that's in parentheses there, that right there. To become binding upon the United States, the Senate must provide the advice and consent to treaty ratification by 2/3 majority. Okay. Secondly, Congress may authorize congressional executive agreements. Thirdly, many treaties and executive agreements are not self-executing, meaning that implementing legislation is required to render the agreement's provisions judicially enforceably in the United States. The status of an international agreement within the United States depends on a variety of factors. Self-executing treaties have a status equal to federal statute, superior to U.S. state law. Okay? So, yeah, and the reason why I'm going over this international law stuff is because you're going to have to know it and you're going to have to understand it, because as the United States falls deeper into almost a civil war and we start dividing up, and you see how we're divided we are between Republican and Democrat right now, and we have a lost group out there, you're going to have to understand the treaties and the alliances that we have with others. And then if another political wing or party is developed, you can actually create your own treaty with the United States District Corporation, Washington, D.C., and the Restore the Republic plan. They did do this. They have they're recognized internationally. And I'll go over that, too, if anybody wants me to. I have that document, too. So Okay. In addition to legally binding agreements, the executive branch also regularly makes non-legal agreements, sometimes described as political agreements. See what I was just talking about right there, and that's with foreign entities. So so the formality, specifically, is intended duration of such commitments may vary considerably, but they do not. Okay, modify existing legal authorities or obligations, which remain controlling under both U.S. domestic international law, nonetheless. Such commitments may carry significant moral and political weight for the United States and other parties. Unlike in the case of legal agreements, current federal law does not provide any general applicable requirements that the executive branch notify Congress when it enters a political agreement on behalf of the United States. All right? So, the effects of the second source of international law, which is customary international practice upon the United States, are more ambiguous. Okay? While there is some Supreme Court jurisprudence finding that the rules remain controlling, and scholars debate whether the Supreme Court international law jurisprudence still applies in the modern era, some domestic U.S. statutes directly incorporate customary international law, and therefore invite courts to interpret and apply customary international law in the domestic legal system. Now, this is very important. Pay attention to this, and then I'm going to wrap this up here, and then we'll go over more as the shows go on, but pay attention to what I'm saying here. The Alien Tort Statute, for example, which, now you're thinking legal aliens, don't think like that. Think like yourself that you're part of the NSM, just say, and they label you a terrorist. Okay, or you're a part of the Republic, like they did with Mr. Turner there, and they arrest him. Okay, you would use this is something that I found actually in a couple others, and I read into it. And this is constitutional scholars were unable to even find this. Lawyers, the Alien Tort Statute, for example, which establishes federal court jurisdiction over certain tort claims. Now, if you know what a tort claim is, I'm not going to go into it. You should know. Brought by aliens for violations of the law of nations. Okay? Although the United States has long understood international legal commitments to be binding both internationally and domestically. Okay? All right? The relationship between international law and the U.S. legal system implicates complex legal dynamics because the legislative branch possesses important powers to shape and define the United States' international obligations. Congress is likely to continue to play a critical role in shaping the role of international law in the U.S. legal system in the future. Now, why would they come out with such? Now, this stems back to now. Like I said, I'm not going to read the whole report to you because I'll probably put half of you to sleep. But this CRS report prepared for the members of Committee of Congress. International law agreements, their effect upon U.S. law, okay? Congressional Research Service, 7-5700. You go to www.crs.gov. Number of the form is RL32528, okay? You go to that, you go there. Why was Stephen P. Mulligan, legislative attorney, this was made September 19th, 2018, because we're heading into a time in the United States where you're seeing states probably succeeding, maybe. Now, is this going to happen next week? I don't know. But I'm just saying, but we see the turmoil right now in our country, as what I just said. And look, you had these dirtbag Antifas burning down a federal building, a courthouse, while there are people in it. And the corporate Jewish-controlled media does what? They get who's this guy that got up there today? What was it? Or last night on the Ingram there, Laura Ingram. They can do it. They can't get in trouble because they were burning it at night or something. I think they said, or it was after 11 p.m. What? I mean, this is insane. But yet they're concentrating on arresting more people from Washington D.C. from January 6th. Right? They're coming after you guys, you white males, you domestic terrorists. But the Antifa scumbags, they're going to walk. How many arrests have been made already for that federal building out there? Does anybody know? Anybody know? Antifa. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. They burned down the courthouse with people in it, and nobody they don't get, I mean, wouldn't you think that they would shoot them or something, the police, to stop them from trying to burn down the building? I mean, I would say they'd be well in their rights, wouldn't they? I mean, that wouldn't be tyranny. I mean, they're trying to burn down a building with people in it. That's their job, to protect, preserve the peace, stop property destruction. I don't know. When I heard that, that's another reason why I did the show tonight. I just want to hear from you out there, everybody. I mean, this is just, how could we sit idly by? And this is happening. I just can't believe it. Unreal, man. Oh, Lord. 657-383-0616. Everybody's got to press 1. I see a couple of you out there. Let's see here. Let's go to area code 203. 203. Press 1. Okay, 203. You there? 203. No. Going once. Going twice. I know this number because I know it's a legit call. 203. Okay. I'm just maybe doing something else. Guys, if you're going to call in and press 1, can you make sure you stay with me here? I mean, come on. Oh, boy. I got a couple private callers, but I'm a little nervous about them right now tonight. This Antifa court building, I want to pull up a news story on that, federal, burning down this federal building. If anyone's got any information on that, I want to talk about that. I'd appreciate giving me some updated information on that, if there was any injuries or if anybody got hurt, because there was people inside the building when they tried torching the building. So my mind's just not like grasping this. It's just, and this is why all the more people, you need to be out there April 16th in Phoenix, Arizona, with the NSM, and fighting for our border security, standing up against this Joe Biden aggression of destroying America, and this promulgation of the New World Order that's they're ushering in. I just don't know what else to say on that or how else to stress it more than enough. April 16th is so very important for everyone to come aboard and get out there. And if you have problems getting out there, listen, where there's a will, there's a way. And I've already got about, a dozen people because they're committed. So, they pledged they're going to be there. So I want you to go to the NSM's website there and sign up too. So this way here they know you're committed also, okay? That would be really good. All right, I'm going to be back in a couple minutes here, and then I'm hopefully we get some good numbers here to call in. I'm going to try to call Dr. Peter Ventura back here tonight also. Call him. He's on the road, so I'm going to line that up during this next couple minutes here. So what can I play here for you for 3 minutes of entertainment? All right, let's play this one.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. We have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
George Bush has invoked a new world order without enunciating a new American purpose.
Bush said, and it's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order, and instead it looks like we got a lot of disorder.
Joseph Gibson, podcasting here live. Okay, I got Dr. Peter Venturi standing by for my call now. I'm going to give him a call, and hopefully we can continue this discussion a little ways here. And I want to clarify a couple things with him also. He's a pastor. He has a theology degree. He has a doctorate, two doctrines, actually, one in world religion and one in philosophy. And he's going to be teaching a school up there in Stamford, Connecticut, Frontline Bible Institute there. So he's going to be, he's a, he's what they call a bright guy, I guess. So let's give him a call here.
I'm sorry, the person you are trying to reach has a voicemail box that has not been set up yet. Please try your call.
What? Oh, I dialed the wrong number, sorry. That was not him. That was Pastor Godinez, actually. Sorry, guys. Sorry. All right, here we go. Dr. Peter Ventura, I apologize. I know he's waiting right now. Okay, here we go. This should be it. There we go. We'll patch him through on this one. Here we go. Live radio. You can't beat it, man. Oh. He just traveled to the United States, actually. He's in Virginia right now.
Hello.
Hey, Peter. How you doing? Understanding the times in which you live today. Joseph Gibson, your good old friend pal from the other night when we were having that mean discussion. I hope there's no hard feelings, of course, Got a lot of emails on it. But
which one was that?
Remember the one we did there with the, on the races, where you said that there's only one race, the human race, and I kind of got into it with you.
Two races. The saved and the unsaved. Now, go ahead. I'm still on the road, believe it or not.
Yeah, I know. How's that coming for you? Tell us a little bit. Go ahead. Give us an update. You went all the way out there, San Diego, man. Woo.
Well, let me give you an update. I left North Carolina to get on the 81, and I let my GPS guide me. Took me down to 220, and then it took me all the back mountain roads to Christiansburg. And I was stuck in the mountains for hours. And once you commit to that, you don't know where you are. There's no way out. And those in Virginia were loaded with hairpin turns. You had to slow the car down 10 miles an hour.
Wow. I know where you're talking about. Wow, you were up there. How the heck did you do that, man? How did you go from 220, which is now the 73, up into the mountains? You took a left instead of a right when they did the connector there to the 81.
Well, what happened was I didn't know there was a connector there to the 81, and my GPS obviously didn't because it didn't recognize the 73. It only recognized the 220.
Exactly.
So,
Yep.
Then it took me up to 58 to the, and I was up on some parkway and the highways and through small towns, and then it just kept climbing and climbing and climbing. And people up there, well, they know the roads. They're flying down these roads around them hairpin turns.
They're drunk. They're drunk. They're North Carolinian drunks. Yeah, I got to the store real quick. Yeah, I got a 20. I got $20. Grandma gave it to me. They got to get that Bud Ice.
I tell you what, I got thousands and thousands of miles under me. I've been across this country. It's my 44th time coming back. And I got to tell you something. That was the hairiest ride I've ever had, going up those roads.
Really?
I mean,
I thought.
California,
well, what happened? You said you said you saw the ghost truck one time. I remember you got caught in a snowstorm, or was it?
No, it was in I don't know where I was. I think it was in Virginia somewhere on one of those back highways, and I was doing about 80, and I looked to my left, and I saw this outline, this white outline like a truck, and I looked, and it wasn't in my mirror. It was on the side of me, and I looked over it, but it was like transparent, and the body lines were like white, like light.
Yeah.
But they weren't complete. I couldn't see any wheels on it, but it was in the center medium, and it was running alongside me.
Ghost
and I
truck,
looked, and I said, "What the heck?" And then it was gone. Poof. And I called somebody, and they said, "Man, you better pull over. You're hallucinating."
Yeah. You start seeing ghost trucks. Yeah.
I said, "I'm not hallucinating. I know what I saw."
Yeah, I know. I believe you. I believe you on that one. I may not believe you though on the race thing, on the Bible thing though. I mean, if people are proud, people are proud to be white. I mean, why do Christians get mad though? I just don't understand that. I just don't get that. I'll never get.
Christians get mad. I don't think Christians get mad because people are proud to be white or proud to be black or proud to be Chinese or Filipino. I don't. What's that got to do with Christianity? Why would Christians be mad?
I would notice that a lot of Christians they get like you're bashing the Jew, you're bashing the blacks. It's not right. We should all love one another, love them, all fair and love and war. It's like you and then they shun away from you. You even told me that yourself that some of these guys did. They don't want me being over there on the NSM platform even. So it's like, come on, man. What's wrong with being? I mean, we have to look at the facts, I mean, that's all I'm saying. I mean, we know Jesuits are involved, like you said, but so are the Jews, Everybody gets mad, though, when you say Jew. It's like, oh, those poor Jews, So, I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there at you. I'm not trying to start a debate, but, But what is it? Let me ask you this question. You ever read a book, The 6 Million, 7th edition, Fact or Fiction by Peter Winter?
No.
All right. Well, it goes into the number of Jews. Well, chapter 2, the number of Jews under Nazi control. And then chapter 3, commonly used lies and distortions. Basically, it's I haven't read it yet, but I'm starting to, and I think it's good. I think it's there's an excerpt from the Washington Post actually said something about it. Let's see. It says. The Washington Post said in July 24, 2005 of this book, of course they probably gave it a bad review. Let's see here. It says, while it was perfectly legal under military law to hand over suspects for further questioning to DPs, says Benjamin Fernandez, it's in small black and white, so it's hard for me to read, who was a lead prosecutor at the Nuremberg War Crimes Tribunals in 1945 and 1947, knowingly delivering suspects for execution was not. And, of course, the DPs were not interested in extracting information. So basically they're trying to say, that it was, they did murder all those Jews, And I like somebody made an argument where those camps, their supply lines were cut off for almost a year. That's why they were starving to death, I mean, they were getting bombed by the Allied forces, So, but real quick,
I think the answer to that is maybe you need to find a Jewish person who was there and interview them rather than have everybody speculate, and then you'd have the answers live.
Well, you mean find a Holocaust survivor? Now, how would I verify it was a Holocaust survivor? Now, I mean, you know what I mean? Because obviously we just take them at their word. I hear you. So you're telling me a Holocaust survivor can come on here and say, how would that Holocaust survivor be able to verify 6 million Jews were murdered?
They tell you the story that you haven't heard. That I'm sure.
Well, probably. I don't know. Well, would they come on? Because you know something? I'm going to say something right now, just out of surprise to everybody. I did try to get a Holocaust survivor on this podcast about 4 years ago, and all I got was crickets. In the back, I was like, hey, you want to tell your story? I went to, I contacted all these Jewish organizations. I'm like, hey, why don't you come on and, and tell your story? And, because, we want the truth. I want to hear the truth. And not one responded to me. Don't you think they would want to do that? No, because I'm not Fox News or CNN. You know, so I can't spin it for him. You know.
I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. I
Yeah, I know.
don't have the answer.
I know.
It's not.
Yeah, I know.
It's not my specialty.
Yeah, I know. But what's the Bible say? What's the Bible say about the end? You mentioned one thing the other night, and we got cut off before we could finish. You said there's an elect at the end or whatever. What's that? The elect, the 144,000. What's that?
Well, that's during the tribulation. That's
okay.
144,000 Jews that'll preach the gospel.
Okay. Oh, so they're going to be called again.
Now remember, the Jehovah. Yeah, they're going to preach the everlasting gospel, not the gospel. Hey, listen, not the gospel as you get it. But remember that, I forgot what I was going to say. Got cut off. My mind. Got a double
That's all right, you're tired.
You ever do that?
You said something about the Jehovah Witnesses.
Yeah, that's what it was. The Jehovah Witnesses, they claimed they were the 144,000 until they got 144,001 members.
So what's their claim to fame?
True.
Well, you're an expert in world religion. So talk to me about Jehovah Witnesses real quick. What's their claim to fame? What do they claim is their salvation?
Well, they claim that their salvation is through Christ, but that, they don't believe in the Trinity.
Okay.
They just believe that the Holy Spirit is a force or a power. And in 1914, they bought a home for Abraham in Los Angeles somewhere in that area because they believed he was coming back.
Why
Abraham?
Abraham?
Strange things go on.
Why Abraham? Huh.
I guess because he was a patriarch. He's a patriarch.
Okay. What about the Mormons now? What's their claim to fame?
The Mormons are interesting people. I always ask them when I talk to them, could you give me an archaeological site to prove your religion? And, they don't have one. They'll get back to me. But anyway, that starts off with Joseph Smith up in Palmyra, New York. And Joseph Smith was, you could actually find his cases of the U.S. Supreme Court where he was sued for selling magic wheat, extra special wheat that was supposed to be grow and all kinds of stuff. And then from there he went to getting involved in the occult and magic and water witching and that type of thing. And then he said he found one day up there in Palmyra, New York, he was contacted by an angel by the name of Moroni.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry, Peter. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Not Boney Moroni, but Moroni.
Yeah.
And he said that angel had a couple of golden plates with reformed hieroglyphics, and the story was that the Indians were the Jewish tribes that had migrated to South America and North America, the Nephi and some other tribe, and they had a fight, and they were getting ready to battle, and so they wanted to give him, they had lost, and the plates were buried, and so he takes these golden plates with these special glasses, and he goes into a farmhouse and puts a curtain up, and he tells them, he reads them with the spectacles, supposedly, and the people on the other side record it, and that's how it started.
Wow. All right. Well, I got a couple callers here. I got a couple callers here. They might want to ask you. Probably as soon as you said Mormons, they kind of like the phone lines lit up. Bing! So I don't know. Maybe we got some Mormons on here. I don't know. But I got a private caller, and then I got 863. I think I know who this one is. 863. Go ahead, there. I think this is. All right. Hey, 863. I recognize the number. How you doing, Bert?
Good evening, Mr. Gibson. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Wow, I was wondering. I said 863. I said I remember that number now. I better take that one instead of private caller because you know how those private callers are.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I saw you were having a show. Figured I'd jump in here and just been listening. Very interesting. To kind of, if I could touch upon or expound on what you were talking about earlier about the Jewish thing. I know that comes up a lot, and we don't. I don't really mean to beat it into the ground, but it's getting to be more and more of a prominent subject, and it's a touchy subject these days. And the reason why it's going in that direction is a lot more people are getting woke up to the Jewish lies that are going on out there. They see who is doing this to them, who is making their lives tough, both financially, physically, and just about every aspect, as you mentioned, getting them fired from their jobs. And it's because these people refuse to, become complacent. with their lies. They refuse to be bought out, and they know right from wrong. They see the truth, and the only people who are going to have a problem with truth are people who are telling lies. You know, so it's saying truth sounds like hate to those who hate truth, and it's absolutely true. And these Jews do not want to hear the truth. I debate them day after day. We get emails, interviews. They always seem to find the Jew with the biggest nose to come out there and try to debate me, thinking because he's got a PhD in college and all this, that, and the other, and he's got millions of dollars, somehow he's going to break my argument. Well, I would challenge him to the truth. And it seems like they can never get it, and they always get angry. The Jews will hang up because they're outmatched in the physical arena. They're not fighters. They never were, not throughout history. So, I mean, you know, they could sit there, they get mad, they make their snarky little remarks and everything else, but they're
that is
not
true.
fighters.
I noticed that though throughout, but except in the stories in the Bible, they beat up, they go to war and they always win because they got God behind them. But I noticed that they're not physically. I never met like a Jewish bodybuilder, you know, or one that was like, you know, or an athlete, you know.
I'm sure they're out there, but it's just not something that you see every day, I guess is my point. They are generally the puppeteers. They're the ones that are going to pull other people's strings, i.e. The black community, the LGBTQ community, whatever their pawns are, they're going to put them out on the streets and they're going to be like, go out there and attack these Trump supporters. Go out there and attack these Nazis. And these people do it. They do so willingly, thinking that they're standing up for right. But as I've said, a zebra doesn't change his stripes. These people are the masters of deception. They have been for 4,000 years. It's not going to change. And if they have, you know, they've invented communism. I mean, Karl Marx, the creator of communism. I mean, they've created this, and now they're implementing it. And if I hadn't been alive all these centuries later to personally see this, I wouldn't believe this. I can't believe that history is repeating itself. I mean, somebody who's a normie from 2021 today would look at this and be like, oh, we've learned lessons from history for the last 2,000 or 4,000 years. There's no way history can repeat itself. But here it is. It's repeating itself. I'm completely dumbfounded that this is happening and that people can't see this. 2,000 years ago. And, you know, we got Dr. Peter Ventura on the show. Hello, Doctor. Good evening to you. Hope you're staying safe out there on the road.
Amen. Good evening.
But they did this stuff on a much smaller scale. Back, you know, they basically convinced the Romans, who were white, and being modern-day Italians, convinced them and manipulated them with their money and their power to do something that should have never been done. Which, okay, we can look at that as people make mistakes. Human beings are sinners. The problem that we have today is that Jews, we as Christians, Jews, believe that Jesus Christ is boiling in a cesspool in hell. And now, me as a Christian, I find that pretty offensive, if nothing else. Furthermore, to double down on that, I don't have to look to the Bible to realize the quality of people that I'm dealing with. I've been at the opposite end of the table with these people. I see how they are. Trust me when I say these are not good people. And it's very difficult for me to lump them into one category and stereotype them like that, but I keep on coming across the same thing with every single one of them. They're interested in money. They're interested in power. They're interested in manipulation. I get nothing but evil vibes from them when I get around them, and I don't like it. And if these people would come, if they would just come out, one thing would greatly change my mind about the Jews. If they would just come out and say that they believe that Jesus is their Messiah, I would probably take an entirely different perspective on this. But the pure fact that even the Muslims believe that Jesus was a prophet, it's not their almighty, but they believe he was a person of great importance. We've got Jews out here that are saying terrible things about Jesus. They don't believe that he's the Messiah, and I don't want to get on a whole religious tangent here. I probably said too much already. But, I mean, the pure fact that they believe he's boiling in hell and that their Messiah has yet to come, that speaks to the quality and the character of what we're dealing with here. And that's not even getting into kosher slaughter, the horrific things that they do to these animals. I'm a bit of an animal lover, and to watch them do this stuff and watch them kill cows and cut their throats and let them bleed out, and watching the calf that's in line next shaking because it's mortified because it knows it's going to be next. These people make me sick with their stuff, and it needs to stop. And anybody who sponsors this sort of nonsense, as sick and sadistic as it is, I mean, I don't know, is there really a place for them in a just world? I don't know how people can sit back and watch that. I mean, you know, and say, well, this is okay because it's Jews, and like, as you said earlier, Jews are God's chosen people, and we should just follow them right through the gates of hell. I'm not going to do it. I refuse.
Yeah,
to
I know. Yeah, right up to the guillotine. You know, I mean, it's like, and that's the thing is, that's what I wanted to ask the doctor there is that, you know, or you, Bert, is that, you know, you said you're not going to follow, but where does it say that in the Bible that we're supposed to follow them blindly? I thought we're supposed to hate sin, right? And if a majority of us, one group, is committing the sin, don't we have to punish them? It's like, look, they're saying, oh, okay, let's just say hypothetically, all the people that rioted at the Capitol, that broke in and did damage, they're criminals, and most of them were white. So therefore, they have to, you know, those white people that were there that committed those crimes, they have to be punished and be held accountable for breaking the law. Well, the Jews that are breaking the law and doing what they're doing and the crimes they're committing, they have to be held accountable. But you say that to a pastor or a Christian today, oh, they do a tap dance away from you because it threatens their wallet. You know?
And that's disturbing. I'm not interested in making a profit. I'm interested in truth.
Yeah.
If the truth is convenient for me or not, I don't care what that truth is. I just want truth.
Exactly. You know, Bert, the one thing I found is that with the NSM and everything is that that everyone gives the NSM this stereotype of that they black label you, like, well, what are you supposed to do? I mean, why? What are you supposed to do? I mean, why hate the NSM? I don't understand why. Because of what Hitler did and World War. I mean, if you hated Hitler, okay, fine, I guess. I don't know, but you know, Hitler never did nothing to. I just don't. I don't know. How do you play that? Rationalize that when you go out and you meet people and they're like, oh wow, you got a swastika. Oh, you know that's against Americanism. I mean, you're not an American. You know, I mean, how do you combat that argument?
Well, I mean, I'm very much an American. I was born here. I mean, a lot of people tend to get off on the domestic terrorist tangent, but to me, a domestic terrorist would be somebody who breaks the law. We advocate for strict enforcement of the law. You know, we would, as far as we're concerned, the laws, the right laws for the most part are written on the books out there. It's just the Jews are selectively enforcing them. We've got laws that say it's illegal to come into this country by jumping across the border. But since nobody's enforcing these laws, nobody knows what to do, and they're all losing their mind saying, well, we need to go to the Supreme Court and proposition them to come out with a law that says that it's illegal to come into the United States by jumping the border. You don't have to. The law already exists. What do you want them to write? 10 more to say it's illegal to come into the country by jumping the border? But case in point, when I deal with people like that, I'm generally dealing with people who have been indoctrinated. They have not been able to think for themselves. They just know what they've been programmed. Kids all the time, I see them go to college. They look normal when they go in, and they come out and they look like they tripped and fell face first in a fishing tackle box.
Now, what
I don't know
about
what
the
they're
Jews,
doing.
though? What about the Jews that accept Christ? You know, you said if they accepted Christ, that'd be okay. Because there are some, I mean, I will tell you, I have met some that accepted the Lord Jesus Christ, and they, you know, I mean, I don't know them personally. I'm not best friends with them, but, you know, they accepted Christ, and there is a remnant out there that is against the policies of what you heard Alex Jones talking earlier on, you know, in that interview there, where he talks about, you know, 50% of the population over there in Israel doesn't like what they're doing, and you know, their false flag nonsense and their narratives and these, you know, the money changers and how they finance both sides of the wars, you know.
Mm-hmm. I would challenge them to stand up and do the right thing. If there are Jews out there, I have heard of them. I know they do exist. They're far and few between, but they are out there. And I would, like I said, challenge them to stand up and do the right thing. Support us. We have a hell of a fight on our hands here. And we have a bunch of people who they've brainwashed into basically telling them you're allowed to be every single color you want to be, every sexual orientation you want to be, except for unless you're white. Then you're the spawn of Satan, and you need to go to hell, and you need to be beaten for the sins of the Father. And we're really sick of hearing this crap. And this is what they've programmed, and they need to unprogram themselves from that. It's easy for me to say because I've seen this since I was a very young age. That isn't the case with a lot of people. I was exposed to it, you know, and I don't want to tie up your whole show, you know, telling my life story about that. But, I mean, I thought at a very young age.
I had a couple callers drop. I know they were crank callers, so go ahead, man.
Well, I mean, Yeah, I mean, long story short, basically, when I was very young, when I say very young, I mean I'm talking the age of about 6 years old in kindergarten. I would see, I had heard about black kids. I grew up in Niagara Falls, New York. I'm not from the South. I'm not a Southerner. I didn't move here till I was about 16 or 17. I was born and raised up there, Western New York. And I heard about the black kids that were coming into our schools, private schools, Catholic schools. They were sending them in, and I was like, oh, well, that'll be okay. They're like us, but they're just they have different skin. Other than that, we'll get along just fine. And when they started coming around, I could see the things that they were doing, the things that were coming out of their mouth, and aside of the fact that their skin color was different and everything else, I mean, there were huge differences. Huge. I mean, we had nothing in common. Nothing. I mean, we didn't want to be around each other, and it wasn't just me. I mean, the white kids were all optimistic about it too until they started stealing from them. They would steal their lunch money and beat them up. I'd sit there and watch 20 and 30 black kids jump on one white kid because he supposedly said something about his mama. I mean, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can just sit there and watch this happen in horror. And, I mean, you know, this stuff happens a lot. And growing up, it didn't get any better as I got older. I just saw that the more they tell us that we're the same, I keep on seeing more and more differences. And eventually, as we got older, you know, it manifests itself in the form of arguably hate, I guess one could even say, if you wanted to use that word. I use it kind of loosely, but you could construe it as that. We're constantly called haters because we want to be proud of who we are and we want to be around our own type. And we're told if we don't subscribe to, I guess, what would you call it, the status quo, then somehow that there's something wrong with us and we need to be incarcerated. We're Americans. We're free. We should be allowed to, if I don't want to be around people of color, I should have that choice. I should be able to defend myself, my family. If other white people out there want to go around and hang out with people of color, and I'm not just picking on black people here, I'm talking about anybody of color. If they want to be exposed to that, then they should be allowed to do that. This is America. Again, you're free. But to sit there and tell us that we have to do it, otherwise you're going to be fired from your job, you're going to be branded a racist and possibly put in jail for hate crimes or extended prison sentences, that's not freedom. That's not capitalism. That's bullshit communism is what it is. And people are getting more and more wise to this, and they're getting angrier and angrier about it. And this is getting to be a situation, classic situation, like when you beat a dog with a stick, you beat that dog long enough, eventually you're going to get your ass bit. And I'm telling you, these Jews, I could not, I've said this over and over again, I could not preach this stuff 15 years ago without getting the response that you just mentioned, Joe. People walk away from you like you're toxic. I can do it now. People are listening now because they see it themselves, and they've had enough of it.
And I believe, and a lot of the black community too is starting to believe it too. Also, believe it or not, you know. I mean, and I say, hey, that they're willing to stand up and fight against it. I say, hey, good, you know, more power to them. You know, I mean, you know, because these Jews are influencing their community too, like you said. They're sneaky, sly little devils. They're the money. You know, for the love of money is the root of all evil. I mean, it's just, and they love that money. And look, whether they're good with money or not, that's irrelevant. The point of it is, like I opened up the show with, their numbers that tell the tale of the tape is why do they have so much control and power? Who's influencing these people? How are they getting into power? You know, what's going on here? I mean, how do we reverse it? How do they really control the lobby? Well, look at Biden's cabinet. You know, majority of them are Jews. You know, I mean, what's going on here?
I mean, I'd love to walk into Congress and the Senate right now, and just with my brown shirt on, and ask everybody out loud on the bullhorn, everybody who's in the room that's a Jew, raise your hand. I think you would be astounded at how many people would actually raise their hand. There's probably a lot.
Wow.
So, and I mean, that normally I wouldn't say that is a problem, but the pure fact that they're using these communist tactics today, it's very different than the Soviet Russia tactics that we're familiar with. And communism back in 50, 60, 70 years ago, Cold War days, I mean, basically there was no good places in Russia. If you were a good Russian was a dead one. They were doing mock drills of kids hiding under the desk in anticipation of a nuclear attack. It's not that way anymore. I don't personally view Russia as our enemy. They're not really communist country per se. It's a very different battlefield today. Now communism today is essentially the LGBTQ community, Black Lives Matter, and all these other people who are run by Jews and funded by Jews. Those are the communists out there, and they're using effective communist tactics. They don't care, like I said earlier, they don't care how many pawns they sacrifice. You know, they send out the Black Lives Matter out there. The Antifa, they take Sharpie markers and they write their emergency phone numbers on their arm with a Sharpie marker. And they can call their George Soros-funded liaison and say, hey, I got arrested protesting the NSM. I broke the law. Could you come get me out? Sure, we'll come pick you up. No problem. Furthermore, the prosecutors aren't even pursuing these cases. The police are getting tired of arresting people and just having them just turn around and release them without being charged. There's no penance whatsoever. And this is what you had mentioned earlier, Joe, the courthouse up there in Portland, I believe it was. I hadn't had a chance to really get into the details on that, but very disturbing stuff.
Yeah, burn it down to a courthouse. So you're telling me that if Antifa, if I'm a member of Antifa and I attack the NSM and I get arrested by the police, just say, I have a phone I can call and get bailed, and they'll come get me out and help me out? I mean, you know, these organizations that back these, these Jewish organizations?
Yes.
Wow. That's insane, man. That's insane.
Yeah, there's extensive proof of that. We've got all the evidence on that. Antifa actually has their own textbook. We have a copy of that. It's a bit of a dated copy of it, but a copy nonetheless. And some of the names, the Antifa list, the entire membership for Antifa a few years back got doxxed, and it was posted on the internet. You could anybody could Google that and pull it up, and they had to pick the person's name, and it had a picture of their job description on there. And a lot of these people, these were not your average, middle-class, blue-collar people. I'll give you an example. One of the names I saw on there was a retired lieutenant commander for the United States Navy. That's the one that stuck out the most for me. I could not believe that they had that person's name, retired lieutenant commander in the United States Navy, and it had his name right on there. And all the other names and their job descriptions, I mean, these are not McDonald's people or Burger King flipper. I mean, these are people, these are high, well-to-do people. And these are the forces that we're out there dealing with. I'm not saying that it's an unwinnable battle, but we see, when we go to our events, we see the pawns, the foot soldiers. These people are more that we're seeing out there are like the knights. The ones that you don't see. You won't see Lieutenant Commander, whatever his name was. You won't see him likely in an event. He's too big. He's got too much money. He's got his retired career and probably his pension. So he doesn't want to screw that up. So you won't see him out there. But you're going to see hey, get your mask on and go out there and grab some acid, put it in a cup, and throw it at the Nazis or whatever it is that they do. And that's how they function. There's layers of it there. So, yeah, they can absolutely write a phone number, emergency number on their forearm, and they can call that if they get picked up by the police, and they will come get them out. That's a fact.
While I got you here, now April 16th is the rally in Phoenix. What do you advise people to do? Supporters of the NSM, they're out there. Obviously, you're going to have probably a large gathering there. That's going to be protesters that are going to be shouting and spitting and throwing things. What advice do you give to the supporters and if you got any members listening too? I mean, just real quick, like what's procedure? Like obviously defend yourself, but I'm just saying, what is there any like procedure that you guys try to protect yourself? Because God forbid anybody gets hurt.
Well, at the events, we haven't really settled yet on exactly. We know we're doing Phoenix. We don't know exactly where in Phoenix or how at this point. That could still go in a few different directions. It's pending at this point. We're trying to work out the details with that. Originally, we were talking about doing it at the USS Arizona Memorial. There's a park there. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but it's right in the middle of Phoenix, and it belongs to the state. And they're telling us that we have to have millions and millions and millions of dollars in insurance in order for us to have an event there. I think it was like $7 million. Well, that was my question. They said, well, that's part of the state of Arizona's policy. I was like, well, since when? The old NSM was there in 2009 and 2011, and that was at a federal building. And these are all little things that they do, speed bumps that they do to try to keep people like us from coming out there and exercising our First Amendment rights. They know that they can't shut us down. They know that the courts are going to rule in our favor every single time, First Amendment violation. So they try this Jewish tactic. They try stuff like this. Well, let's make them have $7 million worth of insurance, because we know nobody's going to write a policy for an event like that for one day. they'll pull crap like this. So, of course, I'm not going to spend the type of money that it would cost to pay a premium for $7 million worth of insurance, nor do I feel the obligation or the organization's obligation. Why do I have to insure a bunch of criminal thugs that are going to be bussed in by George Soros from all over the country and probably different countries in the world? They probably bring them in and fly them in. Why is it my responsibility to insure people who have nothing but intent to destroy and do criminal conduct? It's not my responsibility. We don't have any intentions of doing anything like that. If they want us to insure ourselves, fine. We can insure ourselves. I guarantee everything's going to be just like we found it, maybe even a little better than when we got there. But Antifa, we all know what they do. We've seen the cities that they burn. So what we do in these situations is when they pull crap like this on us, we've got a protocol for everything. What we'll do is we'll try to work with the city of Phoenix, anywhere basically in the state of Arizona where we can have a peaceful protest. We can if the police work with us, we can minimize, if not completely stop any potential public property damage, because we know when we get out there, we start saying facts. I mean, these people get pissed. We know that. I mean, they hate us.
Yeah.
They can call us haters. These people want to kill us. We know that. And if they can't get to us, or they're too afraid to come attack us, or they just can't get through the police, whatever the case is, they'll start attacking and destroying everything around them. So if we can work something out with the city or one of the cities in the area to where we can come to an understanding like, look, it's tactically advantageous for the NSM to be at this location. It's also tactically advantageous for the police to be at these locations. We can work this out to where everybody's happy, and we'll do that. But if they want to completely stonewall us and tell us, well, this is your problem. You're bringing this stuff here. You have freedom of speech, but we're not going to make any concessions for you. We didn't ask you to come here. If they're going to take that attitude about it, then what's going to happen is we're going to drop in and we're going to do what's called a legal walking picket, where we're legally armed to the teeth. The police don't know when or where we're going to drop in. There's going to be busloads of Antifa being shipped in from all over the country. They will know where we are, and probably bad things are going to happen when we come head-to-head with these communists. So it's more advisable for them to just find a solution to where the police are there and can react if anything happens, because we don't want anybody to get hurt. We don't want anybody to get hurt from any side of it, ours or theirs. We just want to go out there, say what we want to say, exercise our First Amendment, have a peaceful protest, and go home.
Well, basically, let's put it this way. In Arizona, right now, I have it right here. Private action is permitted, and it's guaranteed civil rights, under the civil rights. And it's in Arizona statute, actually. The statute, actually, where it says it's permitted for you to right to peacefully gather to express yourself and to demonstrate without a permit, actually. It even says that in statute. The statute is 41-1492. 0.08 section C, and so and actually if they try to stop you and you sue them, they have to pay your attorney fees, and that's also right underneath their General Arizona Statute 41-1481, so section J. So I'll look more into that, but they cannot stop you from exercising your First Amendment rights, even if another
they definitely
group,
can't.
Yeah, they can't. They cannot. And if they try to stop it, you can get an emergency preliminary temporary injunction or TRO filed through a federal court right away within, and have it, served on them within 24 hours, 48 hours. So you can do it probably even through a writ of habeas corpus if they try to restrain your liberty there when you go there. So, there's lots of ways of doing it. So it's not
I don't understand about
hard.
the whole thing, though, Joe, is if everything that we're saying is such BS, what do they get so angry for? Why don't they just completely blow us up, be like, hey, these Nazis are all nuts. They've got nothing of value to say, nothing of substance. Everything they're saying is crap. It's all lies. Why give them an audience? These people turn out in the thousands and thousands of them. Every event we go to. And the media, of course, they follow. They can't help it. Personally, it's a win-win for us. I don't care if they show up or not, because what will happen is if they show up, we're going to get the media attention. If they don't show up and we get the people there who are friendly to us, we'll walk around and we'll say hi. We'll give our speeches and we'll shake hands with everybody. We'll have a nice event. We'll even sit down and have something to drink. It'll be peaceful without the communists there giving us a hard time. But they'll never allow that.
And they are. They're
they
communists.
Will never allow
They're communists. Yeah. It's terrible. I mean, it's just they're filthy, rotten. They hate America, everything about America. And I was just watching a video while you were talking, actually, of them attacking the federal building, and it's absolutely apprehensible, and it's disgusting for any group to be doing that. And it's just imagine if you guys were out there doing that. Imagine if 10 NSM members decided to start throwing rocks at the federal building. What would happen? You would be the biggest terrorist on this planet.
We'd be buried under the prison. We're always held to a double and triple standard to what Antifa and all the communists are. It's okay when they do it, but when we do it, and our people have to be damn near impeccable when we go out there. The firearms have to be, carried 100% legally. There is no room for error. I've got to actually go over all this stuff and make people aware of what the laws are. Obviously, I'm not an attorney, so I can't give them legal advice, but I try to, tell them what we can and can't do. That way nobody gets in trouble. And make them aware of the laws and say, this is what we can do, this is what's legal, this is what's not. Just act accordingly. And they're usually really good about it. And law
that new gun bill.
We go there.
Yeah, well, the new gun legislation, how is that going to affect you carrying your firearms across state lines? I believe that's going to nullify that, isn't it? I mean, certain firearms where you can't transfer them across state lines anymore. It's just, I was reading it a little bit of it last night. I didn't get into it. I wanted to do it for the show tomorrow night on the NSM. I wanted to read up on that and see what's going on with that, because the gun owners of America, they send me email alerts, of course, and they said, and this one was all in red, and they were saying that this passed the House already, and they're talking about majority of the firearms out there, and anything above 10 rounds in a magazine is going to be banned now. You'll be grandfathered in if you own it, but you can't transport it from state to state now, they're saying. So,
if it's going to be 10 rounds, that isn't. I don't like that. I don't like the idea of the Second Amendment being infringed upon. But from an organizational perspective, it's not going to really change much, because look at the carnage in Charlottesville and what happened there. And one gunshot was fired. There was guns everywhere, but only one shot was fired into the bushes. So I can't imagine it being any different. Anybody just having to open up on a crowd or anything of that nature. So I don't think it's going to have a real bearing on it. Most of not all, but most of the confrontations we have are relatively up close and personal. Communist Antifa, the anarchists will try to get close. They'll try to throw stuff at us. Anything that they can do. They're very cowardly. They won't, attack me directly. Like, I've been dealing with them for 20 plus years. They will never get within 20 feet of me and say anything to me. They always have to say something from a moving car that's going 50 miles an hour or faster down the road. They roll down the window. Hey, there's Colucci. They call me a name. That's as close as they're going to get to me, because they know if they attack me, what's going to happen. They are going to get their ass tore up. So they're not fighters. They never have been.
Yeah. Yeah, that's and have you ever had that any rallies where NSM member or supporters gotten singled out or captured by the enemy crowd there and just like beaten and attacked? Because obviously they love, because they'll fight with numbers,
Oh yeah, if there's 100 of them and one of our people, they'll definitely fight. They're a bunch of badasses then. Most of the cases that I personally heard of, it seems like there's always those, not NSM members per se, but it seems like there's supporters out there who really didn't get the correct information when they needed it, or they didn't know where they were supposed to go, and they wind up lost out there and separated from us, and they wind up on the other side of the crowd, and they start looking at their tattoos or looking at what they're wearing, or even if they're not supporters of us, they could be out there and just be somebody who has a completely shaved bald head. Be like, oh, look, there's a skinhead, and they just go out there and just start beating the crap out of him. And this guy is some Joe Biden-loving liberal. But this is what they do, and they just they're animals is what they are. I don't know how else to describe a communist.
Yeah, it's a shame,
terrible.
And the thing of it is I bring up, I always try to bring different people to the platform and whatnot, and I'm more or less a constitutional guy. And I like to bring the Republic kind of over to the NSM, because we're going to need everybody in the fight. It's just that in the end, it's better off. This melting pot is not working. We're just not going to all get along. You hear that all the time. Even when you come on my show, you hear my callers say, well, why can't we just all get along when they're beaten in an argument, or they just can't find a win? Why doesn't let's just all get along work, Bert? I mean, just from your standpoint and your viewpoint
there's
throughout history.
There's no legitimacy to it. If it was legitimate and everybody just wanted to get along and say, well, we have different skin colors, but let's look past that and let's all get along. But that's not what's happening. We're talking about people that are basically trying to they're trying to euthanize us with this equality crap and then come in and cut our throats from behind when we're not looking. They're wanting to take and make white people pay slave reparations who have never owned any slaves. They want white people to give everything, their personal possessions, their homes, their incomes, everything, because they never owned slaves, but somewhere hundreds of years ago, possibly one of their relatives did. I can't relate to the whole sins of the father thing. I don't subscribe to it at any level. So I mean, even if you can find out that your parents or your great grandparents or whoever did own slaves, what does that have to do with you? Why are you being judged? Last time I checked, people are judged. That's like saying because you have a relative that's a child molester or something, you're by proxy, you're a child molester too. It's just simply not true. It's not going to work that way. So it's not right, and the Jews understand that this is working. They're capitalizing on white people's guilt. White guilt is what it is. They're basically wanting to say, well, white people, you can make up for hundreds of years of oppression to people of color out there by just doing the right thing. And people some of them are subscribing on this. Others are going radically the other way and spitting it right back out in their face and saying, no, we're not going to take this sitting down. If you think we're going to die, we're going to live on our feet, not die on our knees. So, and that's why the NSM is growing by leaps and bounds like it is. So it's going to be interesting. And I don't think that the battlefield, if this should go in such a direction, is going to be exactly what everybody thinks it's going to be. A lot of people tend to think, well, this is going to be a black versus white race war of some sort, and I don't think it's going to be that simple. I think it's going to be much more complex and complicated than that. I can't honestly say I know what it is. I don't have a crystal ball, but it's not going to be as simple as what I just said.
No, it's not. And if it was to break out and the country does dive into a civil divided war, where it's not going to be like you're going to have pockets of resistance everywhere, and you're going to have eventually the human instinct of tribalism is going to eventually click, and you're going to have this group, and then we're just going to have reestablish government, and it's going to be done so through international law. And hopefully it doesn't come to that, because you're going to see you're going to see civil war. I don't think the whole entire country will be in civil war. I think you'll have peaceful places, but you have locked down communities. You won't be allowed to enter them. It's just how if that happens, if these people get their way, because they want to destroy America. I mean, go to Chicago; it's a war zone. Go to Atlanta. Some sections in Atlanta, I was watching video.
It kind of sounds like you just described what we're living in right now, Joe. Some places you can go into, others you can't. I mean,
you're right. You're right.
Now?
Yeah. Well, it'll be on a larger scale, though. But the thing, we won't have any type of government whatsoever, because the government will abandon its seats. But what I'm trying to say is, I was watching a video on Atlanta last night. Those places, I'm telling you, it's bad. I never saw something like that in an American city. I mean, I've known violence. I've seen violence before in New Haven, Connecticut. Bridgeport, Connecticut was the 5th dangerous city in the country when I was growing up in high school. And we used to go down there and buy marijuana, and stuff like that. But, I saw a lot of crap when I was down there. But Father Panic Village. Look up Father Panic Village in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Whoa! You want to talk about, But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that I've never seen nothing like that. What I'm seeing out of Atlanta, and they're saying now on the border now, the cartels are controlling the entire border now, down there on our southern border. So I mean, we're in trouble. I mean, Biden's illegitimate. They're saying, while I got you on the phone, Bert, on my last 2 shows ago, I had some people come on from high ranking up, whatnot, of the Republic, and other people in the military, whatnot, and they said within the next couple of weeks that there's going to be some serious changes that's going to affect all of us. That's the prediction they gave. So you heard it from me now. So they said it on my show. We'll see what happens, But I foresee it. I think it's going to have to do with the vaccinations that's going on. I think there's going to be a major side effect to these vaccinations. I mean, something's going to happen.
Very possible.
Yeah. But hey, I think I'm going to get ready to wrap it up here. I lost 2 of my callers there. Peter just sent me a text message. He's in the mountains of Virginia, so he told us that right off the bat. So I know he's not snow blowing me there. But I lost my other caller, And I had about 4 or 5 private numbers, and I'm not going to. I know who they are because they're sending me text messages, So I'm not even going to entertain that because it was a good discussion here tonight. Anything else, Bert? You want to add while I got you on here? Thanks for joining me tonight. I know it was late. It was a surprise show, but I just felt like talking tonight. You ever get that mood where sometimes you feel like doing a podcast show?
Yeah, usually about the time I get that feeling, my phone rings. Somebody wanting to know more about the NSM. Kind of interesting, especially with my schedule. So my hours are all over the place. So people, since we got on 4chan here this past week, our Blog Talk numbers have gone through the roof.
Yeah,
so I
haven't checked them out since you first told me. Have they gone up still?
Yeah, they went up even higher, probably from what you saw. They went up to around 1,300 downloads for one night. Then they went up to 1,600 or 1,700 for the next, and your show was one of them. You were striking somewhere around 1,000 to 1,100 per show.
Wow!
And those numbers steadily go up the longer they sit on the board. So that's a lot. So we went basically from averaging low end 150 to 250 on high end on open phones that I do, and it went up 1,000.
Why is that,
show.
you think? What's up with that? What do you think the deal is? Your website's reaching more traffic?
I think it's a combination of that. We've got the brand new website up. The website is cutting edge. A lot of people who aren't tech savvy don't understand the amount of technology and code that was written for that site. There's less than 1,000 websites out there that actually have the moving video like that when you first open it. I'm not sure if you saw that or not.
Yeah, I saw it. I like
that. But when you open it, it animates. There's less than 1,000 in the world that actually have that. And the code that is written for that site is phenomenal. So we basically
That's probably what it is, too. They want that. Mm-hmm.
Well, we went from having one of the crappiest websites from the 1990s ever, and then we basically it was a drag race. And then we just blew everybody's doors off, and then they basically asked us to set their doors off at the next exit because we've blown them off so bad. I mean, with the website tech that's gone into it. That, and we were also posted on the website 4chan. If you go into, I think it's Unpolitically Correct on there, there's a lot of white nationalism on 4chan. If people go
4chan?
On there, I'm still
What's
getting familiar with it myself.
What's it called, Bert?
4chan, yeah. The number 4 and CHAN. I can send you the link for it because I'm still trying to learn it myself. It's kind of like Stormfront, but not. But there's apparent.
Yep, I'm losing you, Bert. I think I'm losing Bert there. Wow, right when he gives out some good information too. I think I'm losing you, Bert. I think we lost Bert there. There he is. He's back. Okay, I hear you.
Okay. Sorry about that. My signal, I'm going up and down hills here. But, yeah, if we're getting that much traffic just from 4chan and the new website, I'm excited to see what's down the road. I hadn't anticipated it, so this should be interesting.
Give out the website. I got 3 emails now if they want it.
Yeah, it's nsm88.org. It's real simple. N as in November, S as in Sierra, M as in Mike, 88.org. Our archive, the last 6 episodes in archive format are available on there. You can listen to them whenever and wherever you want. You just hit the play button on whichever one. There's a multiplayer on there. The player's been redesigned on there from the Blog Talk player, which was pretty primitive looking to say the least about it. We've created our own player. All the code's been written for that. If you don't want to listen to the commercials, first 5-10 minutes, or you can slide the slider forward and fast forward. You can rewind if you miss something, but whatever you want to do. It's very versatile. You can download it. If you don't have cell service, you can download it that way as well to your phone or your computer. Listen to it on your schedule. Whatever works for you. We're trying to make it as convenient for everybody as we possibly can, and it appears to be working.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. It's I checked it out, and hey, man, it's great. Check out the NSM's new website. Yeah, and April 16th. We got get out there and hey, why not, man? It's look, we're in times of revolution right now. So the next NSM show is tomorrow night. Harry Hughes, correct? 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the NSM's Blog Talk Radio. Okay. Hey,
NSM
Bert, man,
weekend.
I want to thank you.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome always. Take care of yourself. Be good, be strong, be safe. And as always, understand the times in which we live today.
The New World Order, I've analyzed it from every angle. I've analyzed every facet of it. They are not going to be able to get away with getting the New World Order off the ground. There is no way that they are going to be able to set up this open world government, openly ruled by a private banking cartel that taxes and regulates every facet of our lives, without staging terror or a huge war. Period. And again, thousands of pieces of data and research go into. People ask me, well, how do you know this? How do you understand this? You just have to have your head in the game 15, 16, 17, 18 hours a day, studying the enemy to be able to understand the basics. Or many of you that have been listening to this show for many years, or who have worked in government, or who are historians in your own right, who have been doing some of the same research, you understand why. And, you know, I can oversimplify all of it, but there's just so many nuances that add into the total.